Okay, we're holding in the middle of Perek Beis. By the way, I just want to give a shout out for all the great feedback that I've been receiving from the Olam that have decided to learn Tanya together, which is Gavaldik. So shkoyim for everyone for your wonderful, wonderful feedback. Let's begin the middle of the Perek Beis. We started the sugya. Let's get the Olam back a little bit of where we're holding. Okay? We started Perek Beis with the big yesod that the second neshama that is given by the Rabbeinu Shalom to every Yid has a chelik and a kabbalah mamish. It's a chelik of the Rabbeinu Shalom, which we explained was in the nature of Hashem, and it's a very special neshama that wasn't just created like everything else was created, which was through dibur, speech, but rather through blowing that neshama inside. And as we explained, Adam Rishon had contained within him every neshama that would ever be in every Klal Yisrael for the rest of eternity, which means that within us is that same neshama that the Rabban Shalom blew into Adam Rishon. Okay? We explained that it has good and bad, and we explained that it comes from a Chochmas Hashem, and even though, and this is what we left off with, there are different madregas of neshamas, but still every single neshama has, as we left off with, min nefesh ruach neshama. Let's continue from the words mikol mokim. That's where we're holding. The words mikol mokim, shoyrish kol nefesh ruach neshama kulam. In other words, in every nefesh, in every neshama of Klal Yisrael, mirosh kol hamadregos ad soif kol dargin, from the top, meaning from the heilige neshamas of Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, and all the tzaddikim in our times, in our generations, of in our history, ad soif kol hadargin, until even the lowest madrega of any neshama, hamalubash beguf amei haaretz, even that's so to speak housed in the body of an Amoritz, the Kalsh of a Kalim, the light of the lightest. Nimshach is a continuation. Mimoyach ha'elyoin shi chachma elah kaviyachol. Which means, at the end of the day, everything comes from the same source. Everything comes from the same source, and everything is a continuation from that moyach ha'elyoin, which is of course from the chachma of Hashem, and everything comes from there. And he gives us a mashal. Kimishal haben hanimshach mimoyach ha'av. A son is a continuation. He comes from, in a very physical manner, his father. Sha'afilu tzipornei raglov. Even the toenails that are growing out of his toes, nisavu metipa zu mamish, come from the very same source as the highest parts of his body. In other words, the little drop, the little seed, the little bit of zera that his father he got from his father, got his brain that made his head the highest part of his body, also created the lowest part of his body down to the toenails. In other words, there's differences between the head and the heel in a physical way, but they all come from the same source, all comes from the same place, all comes from the same drop. Since it stayed 9 months in its mother's stomach, and this drop went from madrega down, like diluted and diluted, till eventually it became nails. That means this drop, even though it's become something so far removed from what it was before, it's still connected in a very wondrous way. And the same greatness that it had originally, it has now in any form that it takes, even as a toenail. It comes from the tipas moyach ha'av, which came from the brain of the father. V'gam, achshav baben, even now, right now, the son who's living, yinikas and tzipronayim v'chayusam nimshechas ma'moyach shebarosh. At the end of the day, the yanika, the nourishment of these nails and their life source comes from the brain, the moyach, in the head of this child. There's a Gemara in Nida that tells us where we get everything we get from our parents. So the example the Gemara brings over there in Nida is loiven, that's the white seed of the father, shemimenu gidim va'atsomois v'tzipornayim. That the child that comes from that drop will have the gidim, the sinews, the atzomos, the white bones, v'tzipornayim, and also the nails. That the Gemara Nida tells us comes from the father. This already is not really for us. Another connection between the nails and the brain. Okay, we'll see in a minute. We'll do a summary. We'll try to see exactly how this is developing. It's a very deep concept, a very important concept, trying to explain where our neshama comes from. And even if we're the lowest neshamas, Lemaisa, the source that we're coming from, is actually a very, very high neshama in this case. Just to give you an example, Rabbi Shemaiah, for example, says that if you take water and you put it into a pipe, and you direct it, so the water will follow through the pipe, because that's what water does. But if you redirect the pipe up, then the water will go up also. So he brings down B'Shem the Heilige Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh that the same is true also with us. Even though our neshama comes from the highest place of highest places that exists, but right now it's in a very low place, but since it came originally from that high place, a person, says the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, through his thoughts, can make himself be there. What you are, where your thoughts are. Right? It's a very important thing. Those of you that are familiar with a famous book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl writes an incredible book called Man's Search for Meaning. He went through Auschwitz. He went through the concentration camps. And he talks about the idea that, the Nazis in Auschwitz could do whatever they want to me. But they can't touch my brain. They can't touch my mind. My mind is mine. The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says that since our neshama came from such a high place, our thoughts can redirect our neshama for where it originally came from, and you are where your thoughts are, as I stated in Baal Shem Tov, which means if you put your thoughts in the right place, you become where you are. That's where you are right now, which means your neshama can go back to where it came from. We'll see this develops even more. Now, he's given us a mashal. A child is born that comes from a little drop from his father. And that drop goes into that child and makes not only the brain, but also the little toenails in the child's nails, right? In the child's feet. That's the Metzias. So it's the same thing, Kaviyachal, he says. The same is true as well, that the shoyrish of every single one of us, our neshama inside us, this second neshama that Peribase is discussing, comes from the Moyach HaElyon, which is of course Chochmas Hashem. Biyiridosai, and it came down, also got diluted. Mi madrega, le madrega, level after level, al yidei shtalshulusai lamos, through the chain of the worlds. And we're going to introduce you now to something which is a very, very talked about in the Kabbalistic terms, and something that the Tanya speaks about a lot in Tanya. And we'll introduce it in this way: Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. These are the four worlds. They're not like four galaxies. These are like, I'll give you an example what it could be. I heard this mashal one time, that imagine when you see a house, you're just seeing the physical of the house. But really, that house didn't start being just bricks. It didn't start being cement. Someone had to have an idea to build that house. Once he had that idea, he had to put the idea onto paper. Once it was on paper, then he had to build it. So you're seeing the last stage, but you're not seeing all the stages before. These four olamas are the olamas in order of gadlus. The highest olam is Atzilus, which means that the highest one is Atzilus, where the or of Hashem, the light of Hashem, is so blinding, is so incredible, is so revealed, but it gets more and more concealed as you go down the line. And again, all of them come from Hashem. Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, and we're over here in the world of what we call Asiya. It goes from the most abstract to the most practical. And we're saying that all of them come from where? Mechachmasai Yisbarach. They're all from the Chachma of the Rabbeinu Shalom. That doesn't mean Chachma wisdom, right? Because it said, Kulam Chachma Sisa, we say that many times in Shachas and Pesukah de Zimra. Oh, Kadosh Baruch Hu's wisdom is in every detail of the creation. That's true. When we went to South Africa, if you remember, we spoke a little bit about, for those of you that were there, we spoke about the Chachmas Hashem in the Bria. It was amazing. The intricate details and everything that Kadosh Baruch Hu created. That's true. But over here, he doesn't mean the Chachma in the wisdom sense. What he means is it started with an ikuda of Chachma, which can develop into something, no matter how materialistic it is, it still retains that incredible Chachma, that panemius that's in there. Which means every world that the Rebbeinu Shem created, from Atzilus all the way down to Asiya, is from the Chachmas Hashem. Are you with me? Nis'avu menu nefesh ruach onashama she'ama oretz psuchei ha'erech. V'im kol zeh. Oidenu kshuos u'miyuchodos b'yichud nifla v'otzum b'malchusa b'atzmusa navishin she'enim v'hu hamshachas chachmas ha'olah. just like the drop of the Father makes both the Father's brain and his toenails, and he's still connected to that Father, so to all neshamas on every level is connected to that incredible chokhmah. So the difference is only in the giloi, is only in the revelation, because the lower neshamas just don't feel the elokus, they don't feel that Rabbeinu Shalom so much. But the panemius, the essence of Vada, in the panemius of the actual neshama, there's no difference between the greatest neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu and the neshama that we have right now. Ki enikas l'chayus nefesh ruach neshama she'amaretz hu nefesh ruach neshama she'tzadikim b'chachamim Rosh Bnei Yisrael she'b'dayim. The same nefesh ruach neshama of the biggest Amaretz is from the nefesh ruach neshama of the biggest tzadikim and the chachamim and the gedolim of that generation. And just like the nails of the feet get unique from the brain, so to every generation, all neshamas of that generation, even the lowest ones, are yonik from the neshamas of the greatest tzaddikim, which is the brain of the generation, which comes from Chachmas Hashem. So we'll stop over here, but just to summarize, what he's trying to do is he's trying to show us that this neshama, where is it a chelik and a kalmim mamish? You're like, okay, I understand Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, big tzaddikim, I get it. But like us, what shaychus? And he's showing that's a big mistake, because we're all connected. There's our neshama is a unit from the same place. It's all neshamas. Yes, there are different daragas in Giloi, in revelation, but in the Metzias, in the essence, in the panemius of it, it's all the same. Bez Hashem, tomorrow we'll try to finish the Perek B'Siyat Dishmaya.